Well, I picked up another one, but this is a 1890s, early 1900s, probably. It's a Davis Walker, made in New York. So this one, as it goes, it's got a little walking foot that locks down, then the whole needle and everything walks back and it goes. But I got it for a pretty good deal. Major thing is the thread that holds the flywheel on the back is snapped off in there. So, you know, I could get at here with like a drill and get really crooked and wild with it and fuck it up so it'd never be the same again. Or I'd take it apart. I got to pull the whole main shaft out and chuck it up in the lathe and then get this crusty little piece of thread out. And the whole thing needs to be taken apart anyway because it feels like there's sand in it everywhere. So it needs to be disassembled and cleaned. And then fixed and then reassembled. Other than that, I just got pretty much everything usually comes apart with a flathead screwdriver on these. And I've got my screwdriver, I've got my oils, I've got my torch, and I've got my little plastic bags. And that is all I'm going to need. So wish me luck. And I got a kayak with a pile of laundry in it. That's great. Real great in here. All right, winner it. It's it. We're enter. We're enter. All right, so it's a hand assembled 687. This is your walking foot that does its thing. There's a lot of componentry in there. You got those 2 pins in here. And those 2 pins go in these walking cam guides. And yeah, so that's 687 and 687. So it's a part match machine. Some poor bastard had to work really hard to make sure this is nice. And we're going to get it apart and fix the cancer and make it nice. I know a lot of you sewing machine folks have got up my ass about this, but for internal stuff like this, it's got crust on it. And you're not going to damage any kind of paint surfaces in here. So for that, I'm going to use like a really thin and aggressive cleaner to get the poop out. So this is like, this is like gun componentry. This needs cleaned. Nobody sees this. Needs to get cleaned. So I don't care what it does to the paint. It needs cleaned. See that stick? No good. Could have killed somebody if it was a gun. Hang fire all day. See, and just after 2 spritzes, never again. Gun cleaner. Use appropriate stuff in appropriate locations. So you can get aggressive in here. It's cool. Okay, I gotta get a flywheel or a pulley puller for this guy to pull it off. But we have a cam in here for the bottom timing, and it has to come off. I pulled a set screw, and it's stuck, like on there, like really on there. So what I get stuff like that. So I took my oil dripper and I would, this is a little mechanics trick, fill the fastener hole with oil. You tip this guy up so the oil's sitting on top. And then you heat the whole cam from the bottom, right? You can give it a couple minutes and just kind of get a nice even heat from the bottom. Heat always rises, so it's going to rise up to the top and go around this whole unit. And you're going to see, to know that you're at the right temperature, I give it a good 2 minutes, and what you're going to end up seeing is the oil that's in that hole. You're going to tip this around, and you're going to see that oil like aggressively boiling. And then you just tip it back up and just let it do that for a while. You might have to rinse and repeat a while, but I got it to move just a little bit, and then I got it to move just a little bit the other way, and now it's moving back and forth, and I got some solvent in there, and this will pop out once I get this to pop off. we want to be careful because this, at the end of the shaft, if I force this, this is our timing. This is important. I can't fuck this part up. See how they mushed a little pin in there to mush it? So this is set. If you pop this off, you're fucked. So you have to pop everything else off. So yeah, you got to be careful because it's just a press fit with a little dab. You can pop this off by accident instead, and if you do that, you're boned. Well, you're not totally boned, but you're pretty boned. Okay, so very gingerly and carefully we removed the shaft from the front way, so the shaft drove out through the nose of the machine. Like I said, this is our critical piece that cannot be messed up at the end here. But this is their timer, and so they made this part and they put that little nick in there, and then once they set the timing with the set screw, they left it open. Whoa. And would punch, but with a little hand punch on the shaft and nicked it for the timing. And it was done by hand because we have two set screw marks. So they set it the first time in the factory to make sure it was going to work, and it probably didn't work, and so they reset it and turned it about 10 degrees and then mushed it back down. And then when I lined the part up with like the second thread, it lines up with my little nick. Sorry about the blurriness, but so that nick, that was hand punched by somebody after they'd timed this machine on the floor. So that's pretty cool that they thought about all that stuff. They made a little nick, and then they probably had a little hand tool that matched up with that nick and punched it in. So I've got to take this shaft and put it in my lathe and just put a new thread end in there, and that end where the busted thread is at. So there's a lot of work just for a busted thread, but that's what needed to be done. And then all the parts by the guitar, all the parts are just going to get soaked in lacquer thinner, and this is the crustiest part, is your wishbone throw. So all these will be dipped in lacquer thinner and cleaned, and that's it. So probably about an hour and a half and we'll get her going.